The trading floor hummed with the quiet, persistent intensity of late-night operations when Bradley Vance approached my workstation, his expensive designer shoes completely silent on the carpet. It was 10:15 on a Tuesday evening, exactly 48 hours before the Securities and Exchange Commission was scheduled to conduct the most comprehensive and intrusive audit in the history of Apex Financial Solutions. Bradley adjusted his custom silk tie, exuding the unearned and frankly grating confidence of a man whose entire career was built on corporate politics, strategic golf games, and inherited connections. He lacked the technical vocabulary to understand even a fraction of what my systems accomplished, yet he possessed the authority to dismantle them. He cleared his throat, a rehearsed and deliberate gesture designed to project a command presence that he fundamentally lacked. "Jonathan, we are making a strategic realignment of our technological priorities," Bradley announced, his voice smooth and entirely devoid of any genuine human emotion. "Effective immediately, your employment with Apex Financial Solutions is terminated. Human Resources will process your standard 2-week severance package and forward the necessary paperwork to your personal residence." The words hung in the sterile, air-conditioned environment of the office, surreal and profoundly disconnected from the reality of our immediate situation. I stared at him, my mind automatically processing the implications with the same cold, calculating logic I applied to our complex security algorithms. "You are terminating my position 48 hours before federal regulators arrive to inspect the exact systems I built from the ground up and currently maintain," I stated, keeping my voice remarkably level despite the surge of adrenaline flooding my system. "I think you need to provide a very clear and legally sound explanation for this decision, Bradley. This is not the time for corporate buzzwords." He offered a condescending, practiced smile, the kind reserved for employees he considered obsolete and overly cautious. "You are simply too rigid, Jonathan. You insist on building redundant firewalls around existing firewalls and demanding multi-factor authentication for every minor operational process. The board of directors wants agility. We need a digital environment that enthusiastically embraces modern disruption, not one that is constantly bogged down by your paranoid and archaic security measures." Chloe Vance. The mere mention of the name triggered a genuine moment of profound disbelief. Chloe was 24 years old. She had recently completed a highly publicized but academically hollow 4-month online certificate program in financial technology disruption. Just 2 weeks ago, she had asked me in absolute seriousness if our deeply encrypted client database could be moved to a public, unsecured cloud storage service in order to save money on physical servers. "Bradley," I said, pushing my heavy ergonomic chair back slowly to emphasize the gravity of my words, "those rigid security measures that you despise are the only defense this firm has against a massive data breach and a subsequent $280 million class action lawsuit. We protect the life savings of 55,000 individual clients. These are teachers, construction workers, nurses, and small business owners." He held up a hand, his manicure perfectly maintained and buffed to a soft shine. "Chloe is agile. She understands user experience in a way that you simply refuse to grasp. She is going to streamline our compliance interface and remove the technological friction that you have stubbornly refused to address despite my repeated requests. In fact, she is already here in the building, ready to assume command of the department." I winced internally, not because of the physical presence of the night security guard, but because of the sheer scale of the catastrophe. Bradley was casually setting in motion. I looked back at my 3 large monitors, observing the complex web of cryptographic safeguards and transaction logs that I had nurtured, patched, and fortified for over 2 decades. I had not yet initialized the final audit lock sequence. "I need exactly 5 minutes to complete the encryption lock sequence and finalize the audit logs," I told him, reaching carefully toward my mechanical keyboard. "It is a strict and non-negotiable compliance requirement. Step away from the console right now," Bradley ordered, his tone suddenly sharp and defensive, betraying a flicker of nervous energy that he tried to mask with volume. "Chloe will handle all system preparations for the audit. She has already designed a more intuitive and visually appealing dashboard for the auditors to use." The profound ignorance of his statement was staggering. Designing a dashboard had absolutely nothing to do with cryptographic integrity or regulatory data compliance. I calmly stood up, retrieving my weathered wool coat from the back of my chair. I systematically gathered my few personal items from the desk: a framed photograph of my parents, my heavy steel coffee thermos, and my reading glasses. You are making a catastrophic mistake, Bradley, and you should be aware that you are executing a termination without the mandatory 60-day notice required under the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act for a senior infrastructural role during an active federal audit period. You are exposing both yourself and this company to severe legal liability, not to mention a blatant breach of fiduciary duty. I will take my chances with innovation over your perpetual stagnation, he replied dismissively, turning his back to me. Hector, please ensure Mr. Cole leaves the premises immediately and returns his access badge. I did not argue anymore. I had spent 22 years defending this institution, but I could not defend it from its own arrogant leadership. I walked toward the elevator, the heavy silence of the trading floor pressing against my shoulders, leaving behind the only professional world I had known for over 2 decades, fully aware that the clock was already ticking toward a spectacular and highly public disaster. The elevator descent felt like a slow, deliberate drop into an abyss. The brushed steel walls reflected my exhausted expression, and the faint scent of stale coffee from the break room lingered in the enclosed space. I am truly sorry about this, Jonathan, Hector muttered, his eyes fixed firmly on the illuminated floor numbers above the door. I really am. I know how much this place means to you. Do not apologize, Hector, I replied quietly, staring straight ahead. It is not your fault. When the circus arrives, they need a clown to run the show. Just do me a favor and make sure someone waters the small fern on my desk. It is a survivor much like myself. The elevator settled on the ground floor with a soft chime. As the doors parted to reveal the expansive, dimly lit lobby of the Apex building, a sharp realization hit me. I patted the pockets of my wool coat, confirming my suspicion. Hector, I need my badge, I said, stopping just short of the lobby turnstiles. Unless you want me to physically ram the parking gate with my front bumper, which I am fairly certain violates several building policies. Hector looked panicked, his training conflicting with his empathy. I can go back up and grab it for you. It is sitting right next to the physical server room master key, I pointed out. I will come with you. I just need the badge, nothing more. We stepped back into the elevator and ascended to the executive operations floor. When the doors opened, the environment had shifted dramatically in just the few minutes I had been gone. She looked as though she had been perfectly assembled from a venture capital pitch deck, wearing a branded vest over an expensive sweater with wireless earbuds firmly lodged in both ears. She had carelessly shoved my carefully arranged 3-monitor array to the side, forcefully making room for her sleek, brightly colored laptop adorned with numerous motivational stickers. However, it was not the superficial changes that caused my heart rate to spike. It was the main compliance terminal. My secure, text-based audit interface was entirely gone, replaced by a glaringly bright third-party dashboard that I had never authorized or even seen before. It read, Advanced Encryption Standard Manual Bypass Active. Oh wow, Jonathan, Chloe exclaimed, spinning around in my chair and casually removing one earbud. Uncle Bradley said you were already gone. That is such a bummer, but honestly, this is going to be so much better for everyone. I have already streamlined like literally everything. I stared at that pulsing amber warning, feeling a cold dread wash over me. It was like watching a paramedic casually observe a patient flatlining. Chloe, I said, my voice dropping to a low, dangerous calm that preceded severe tactical responses during my military service. What exactly did you do to the core encryption protocols? She laughed, a light, breezy sound as if I had just asked her for a restaurant recommendation. Oh, those old protocols were causing this crazy lag on the new dashboard. Every single time I tried to pull up client data, it made me go through 3 different verification steps. My blood pressure spiked to a level that would undoubtedly concern my physician. She had not merely turned off a simple authentication step, she had completely disabled the advanced encryption standard layer. That is not speed, I said, gripping the edge of the desk so tightly my knuckles turned white. That is a catastrophic data breach. You just exposed 55,000 highly sensitive client records to every single malicious actor currently running automated scraping tools on financial networks. You are being super negative right now, she sighed heavily, rolling her eyes as if I were a child refusing to eat vegetables. Uncle Bradley specifically warned me that you would resist change. Look, I am just optimizing the user experience for the federal auditors. First impressions matter. This dashboard is gorgeous, and they will love the agility. You are not optimizing anything, Chloe. I shot back, my voice echoing slightly in the large room. You are serving every client financial identity on a silver platter to anyone with a basic laptop and malicious intentions. Hector touched my shoulder gently. Jonathan, we really need to go. Protocol. I looked at Chloe, who was already turning her attention back to her phone, likely drafting a social media post about her first night revolutionizing financial technology. She was utterly oblivious. She was sitting on top of a financial nuclear warhead and using the detonator as a paperweight. 55,000 people would wake up tomorrow to find their life savings drained and their identities stolen. The firm would face $75 million in federal fines for the breach alone, followed swiftly by class action lawsuits that would bankrupt the institution. Furthermore, the executives who authorized this unqualified access could face severe criminal negligence charges. But at least the new dashboard had rounded corners. I turned away, grabbed my access badge, and walked back toward the elevator without uttering another word. There was absolutely no point in attempting to teach advanced calculus to a toddler. As the elevator doors closed, I pulled out my mobile phone. My thumb hovered over the contact name for Winston Thorne, the chief executive officer. I checked the time. It was 10:28 in the evening. The encryption layer had been down for roughly 13 minutes. I typed a message with the precision of a man who understood that every single character mattered. Client data fully exposed. Core encryption manually disabled by new hire. Automated scrapers will hit in less than 3 minutes. I have been terminated. Happy Tuesday. I hit send and waited as the elevator descended. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Then, Winston replied, "Do not leave the building. I am 20 minutes away." I stopped in the middle of the expansive marble lobby. The revolving door was right in front of me, offering the fresh night air and an escape from the impending disaster. My reliable sedan was parked in the structure, and I had my access badge in hand. Stay exactly where you are. Do not let anyone touch those systems until I arrive. Hector, I said, setting my small box of personal belongings down on a leather couch that likely cost more than my first automobile. I am going to sit right here for a while. Technically, you are trespassing, Jonathan, Hector reminded me, looking anxiously toward the front desk. Technically, Hector, I am the only person within a 50-mile radius who actually knows how to stop what is about to happen, I replied. And in about 15 minutes, Bradley is going to learn the hard way why being overly cautious is not the insult he thinks it is. I sat down on that ridiculously expensive couch, pulled my heavy steel thermos from the box, and poured myself a cup of lukewarm coffee. Some people might pray in moments of impending crisis. I just sat quietly, sipped my coffee, and let the silence settle around me. I thought about my aging parents. It started exactly the way all massive digital disasters start, with something incredibly small that everyone initially ignores. The large digital ticker in the lobby, the one proudly displaying real-time market feeds and the firm portfolio performance metrics, suddenly stuttered. The scrolling numbers froze completely mid-scroll. The night receptionist frowned at her computer screen and tapped her mouse several times. "That is very odd," she muttered aloud. "My email program just locked up entirely." I knew exactly why that was happening. Our primary exchange server unfortunately shared authentication clusters with the main compliance database. It was a cost-cutting integration measure that I had vehemently argued against for over 2 years. Bradley had dismissed my objections as obstructionist thinking. Well, I hope Bradley remembered how to send a physical fax, because digital communication was about to become impossible. At 10:41 in the evening, the internal phone system started dying. They did not ring. They merely produced a strange gargling noise. The switchboard lit up erratically with incoming calls that yielded nothing but digital static and fragmented robotic voices. The receptionist grabbed a handset frantically. "Apex Financial, hello?" she asked. "Sir, I cannot understand you. There is nothing but static on the line." She looked over at Hector with wide, panicked eyes. "Every single phone line is dead." "Bandwidth collapse," I said quietly from the couch, not looking up from my coffee. When the core database chokes on corrupt data, it slowly strangles every connected system, like a python squeezing its prey. Voice packets are always the first casualty when the digital ship hits an iceberg. Then came the chaotic sound I had been anticipating. Footsteps were hammering loudly down the emergency stairwell. Someone was sprinting down 12 flights of stairs because the main elevators had slowed to an absolute crawl, starved of the processing power they needed to coordinate their movements. The heavy stairwell door burst open, and Yolanda Perez stumbled out into the lobby. "Hector," Yolanda yelled, her voice echoing through the large space. "Is Jonathan still here? Please tell me Jonathan has not left the building." Hector pointed silently at me sitting on the leather couch. Yolanda practically ran over, breathing heavily and sweating through her professional blazer. She looked terrified. "Jonathan, it is completely gone," she gasped, leaning against the back of the couch for support. "The entire compliance database is corrupted." Chloe pressed something on that new dashboard, and every single monitor on the floor turned red. The backup verification keys are violently rejecting all inputs. Transaction logs are looping endlessly. Client records are returning null values across the board. "That sounds exactly like an encryption cascade failure," I noted calmly, examining my fingernails as if we were casually discussing the weather forecast. "Did someone perhaps disable the core security layers to make a poorly designed dashboard load a few seconds faster?" Yolanda looked sick. She said the authentication steps were creating unnecessary friction in the daily workflow experience. "Imagine that," I replied flatly. "You have to come upstairs, Jonathan, please. Bradley is screaming at everyone in the office." Chloe locked herself in the employee break room and is crying uncontrollably. The overseas offices are calling repeatedly, demanding to know why their portfolio feeds suddenly went totally dark. If we are still offline when the Asian markets open in a few hours, the firm stands to lose approximately $1.2 million per hour in delayed trading operations, I informed Yolanda. Plus, we face massive federal fines for the data exposure, inevitable class action liability from 55,000 furious clients, and guaranteed criminal negligence referrals. This is going to be a very rough quarter for Bradley and his expected performance bonus. Please, Jonathan, I will do whatever it takes. We need your help immediately. I am afraid I cannot help you, Yolanda, I said, taking another slow sip of coffee. I was officially terminated just 30 minutes ago for being too rigid. I am currently considered a security risk. Hector, am I authorized to access any company systems? Hector shook his head vigorously. Strict orders from Mr. Vance. Immediate removal from the premises. No computer access whatsoever. There you go, I shrugged, offering Yolanda a sympathetic look. My hands are completely tied, and my modest severance package definitely did not include emergency technical support for entirely self-inflicted disasters. That was when the heavy revolving door spun with sudden purpose, letting in a sharp blast of cold night air and the unmistakable, commanding presence of Winston Thorne. The man who had built an empire was not happy. Winston Thorne did not look like the polished billionaire chief executive often featured in business magazines. "You knew this catastrophic event would happen," Winston said, his voice sounding like coarse sandpaper grinding against solid steel. "I predicted it would happen. Eventually," I corrected him calmly, standing up slowly from the leather couch. "How bad is the current situation?" he demanded. "It is catastrophic, Winston. Chloe just opened every single digital vault in this building and hung a massive neon sign outside that says free money, please help yourself." Winston closed his eyes tightly for 3 full seconds, absorbing the blow. When he finally opened them, he looked every single one of his 68 years. "Can you fix this mess, Jonathan?" I picked up my small banker box of belongings, balancing it carefully against my hip. "That entirely depends, Winston." "Infection?" he asked, furrowing his brow. "Yes, the infection named Bradley Vance. the destructive virus called nepotism hiring, the massive security breach called moving fast and disrupting things when the very things you are disrupting happen to be people and their retirement savings. The lobby grew incredibly quiet, except for the distant, unsettling gargling of dying phone lines and the low hum of emergency lighting that had automatically kicked in when the main system started failing. "Walk with me right now," Winston ordered. The private executive elevator was an entirely different world from the one I had just descended in. It offered a smooth ride, elegant walnut paneling, and the faint, pleasant scent of expensive leather instead of break-room food. "Bradley told me just last week that you were completely burned out," Winston said quietly, as we passed the 6th floor. "He explicitly stated you were actively hostile to innovation. Bradley firmly believes that innovation means giving full administrative access to someone who cannot distinguish between a basic firewall and a web browser." I replied without hesitation. The elevator doors opened onto the executive floor, where controlled chaos had completely replaced the usual after-hours calm. Panicked employees were running down the hallways clutching laptops. Winston quickly led me to his spacious corner office, featuring floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the dark expanse of the city, a massive mahogany desk older than most of his employees, and framed photos of his grandchildren on every available surface. "What do you know that they do not?" he asked bluntly. "Absolutely everything that actually matters regarding this infrastructure," I stated. I dropped my worn notebook onto his immaculate desk, the heavy sound of competence hitting expensive wood. "What is this document?" he asked, eyeing the notebook. "It is a comprehensive compliance infrastructure risk assessment. It contains full disaster scenarios with step-by-step mitigation strategies. I attempted to present this exact document to Bradley over a month ago." Winston opened the notebook, scanning pages of my handwriting. It was neat, precise, the exact way naval intelligence teaches you to document everything, because one missed detail can easily get people killed. "Turn to page 8, I instructed. "Look at the section titled Catastrophic Failure via Unauthorized Access." He read silently for 30 seconds, then looked up at me as if I had flawlessly predicted the future. "This is exactly what just happened, word for word." He slowly set the notebook down. "The systems are completely dark, Jonathan. The compliance database is returning absolute garbage. Client portfolio feeds are totally dead to our offices in London and Frankfurt." "I know," I said, walking over and pouring a cup of coffee from Winston's personal machine. "I designed those exact monitoring systems. Client transaction records start severely degrading after just 6 hours without proper checksums." Winston walked slowly to his large windows, staring out at the black night as if it held answers. "Bradley showed me Chloe and her credentials. He showed me a portfolio of projects and called her a fintech innovation specialist. He showed you a website that hands out digital certifications for $450. I corrected him. "That exact same platform will proudly certify you as a life coach, a cryptocurrency advisor, or a pet psychic." I took a long sip. The coffee was excellent. "Winston, you built this entire company by promising ordinary people their money was completely safe with you." His reflection in the window looked a decade older than the man who had walked through the lobby 20 minutes ago. "Fix it," he commanded softly. "No," I replied simply. "I will double your current salary. No, I will triple it, plus give you equity, plus a corner office of your own." I laughed, a short, sharp sound like a car backfiring in a quiet parking lot. "Winston, you still do not understand the core issue. This is not about the money. This is entirely about professional respect and integrity." "What exactly do you want, Jonathan?" he asked, turning away from the window to face me directly. I set down the coffee cup with absolute surgical precision. "I want the infection removed entirely. I want Bradley and Chloe gone tonight, publicly, before I touch a single line of code. Bradley has been with me for 14 years. He is a senior vice president. I cannot just fire him on the spot." "Then you better start rehearsing your sworn testimony for the federal hearing." I cut him off sharply. Winston stared at me. His phone vibrated constantly on the desk. Board members in international offices were screaming into a void. "Okay," he whispered. "I did not catch that," I said, leaning in slightly. "Okay," Winston said, loud enough to rattle the window glass. "You win, fix the system. I will personally handle Bradley and Chloe right now. I picked up my notebook, tucking it carefully under my arm like a general reclaiming a lost battlefield. First, get me full root access to all systems immediately. Second, get me a fresh pot of actual coffee. That pod machine stuff tastes terrible. Winston grabbed his landline, the only communication system still functioning because it relied on ancient copper wiring, and issued a firm order. Security override, executive authorization. Restore full system credentials for user Jonathan Cole. Do it immediately. He hung up and looked at me. You are live. Not quite yet, I said, topping off my thermos. I need the operations center completely empty. I do not perform critical digital surgery with an audience. We walked swiftly down the hallway where emergency lighting cast long shadows. Through the glass walls, I could see the devastating aftermath of Chloe and her digital demolition derby. Bradley was red in the face, screaming helplessly at monitors displaying fatal error cascades. Winston pushed open the heavy double doors. The server room cooling system hit us instantly. The processors were running incredibly hot, trapped in infinite loops of corrupted data. Bradley, Winston said sharply. Bradley spun around, immense relief flooding his face until he spotted me standing there. Winston, thank goodness. We have been hit by a sophisticated cyber attack. And what is he doing back here? Security was supposed to remove him. He is here because you are an incompetent disaster, Bradley, Winston stated, his voice barely above a whisper. And this was not a cyber attack. This was your niece playing carelessly with systems she completely fails to understand because you handed her the keys as a gift. The operations center went dead silent. You are both relieved of your duties, Winston continued. Immediately. Winston, you cannot be serious, Bradley sputtered. This is a massive crisis. We need senior leadership. We need a skilled surgeon. Winston cut him off sharply. You two are the disease. Get out before I call the board of directors and have this exact conversation in front of all 15 members. Chloe appeared in the doorway, trembling. But Uncle Bradley told me I was revolutionizing the financial technology paradigm. Young lady, I said, stepping forward, if you touch one more system in this entire building, I will personally ensure that every regulatory body from the SEC to the federal authorities knows exactly which buttons you pushed. Bradley saw the resolute look in my eyes and finally understood. His corporate vocabulary was utterly worthless here. My attorney will be in touch, he spat angrily. And mine will be in contact with the federal whistleblower office, Winston replied evenly. Think carefully about who has significantly more to lose in that conversation. Leave now. Bradley grabbed Chloe by the arm and stormed toward the executive elevator. Her brief career in disruption had ended spectacularly. I looked at my exhausted team. Show is over, I announced, rolling up my sleeves. Yolanda, get me a direct terminal connection to the master compliance node. We are going completely dark for exactly 4 minutes. Going dark means the international feeds go completely offline, Yolanda warned, her voice shaking slightly. They are already offline, I replied, sitting down at the main console. We are just applying a tourniquet to the wound. I pulled a disinfectant wipe from my pocket and thoroughly cleaned the keyboard. I refused to touch keys operated by someone who viewed cybersecurity as a nuisance. Winston, you might want to step back. Just fix it, he said. I cracked my knuckles and typed a command that would either resurrect the entire company or finish burying it completely. I executed a hard force stop on the master process. Every single screen in the room immediately went pitch black. Did we just lose everything? Yolanda whispered fearfully. Wait for it, I said, taking a sip of coffee. A single line of crisp green text materialized on the main monitor. System recovery initiated. Integrity check in progress. Legacy fail-safe detected. What exactly is that? Winston asked, stepping closer to the screen. That, I said, pointing at the monitor, is the so-called legacy liability that Bradley desperately wanted to eliminate. It is a complete, heavily encrypted mirror of our entire compliance infrastructure that I have been secretly generating every 4 hours for the past 4 years. Green text began rapidly cascading down every screen like digital rainfall, restoring compliance tables. When it hit 100%, I gave the order to reopen the external feeds. Every screen erupted back to vibrant life. The global portfolio map flickered on, showing green indicators spanning 6 continents. We are completely stable, Yolanda announced, relief washing over her face. All systems are green. The encryption is verified and active. I turned to face Winston, who was staring at the restored displays in absolute awe. Systems are fixed, I said. Your client money is secure, the database is audit ready. The emergency board meeting early the next morning was a grim, highly efficient affair. Winston sat at the head of the polished table with me at his right hand, Mr. Cole. The board chairman asked nervously, "Can you absolutely guarantee this will not happen again?" "As long as all system changes require my explicit written authorization," I replied calmly. "Nobody touches the core systems without my sign-off. We are returning immediately to a security-first operational model." They all nodded in agreement. Proven engineering kept them wealthy. Trendy disruption had nearly made them federal defendants. I walked out of that meeting with a title that carried immense weight, a substantially increased salary, and absolute veto power over every technical hire in the building. Back in my operations center, I sat in my old chair and pulled up the system monitors one final time. Everything glowed a reassuring green. The digital heartbeat of $19 billion pulsed steady and incredibly strong.